Hi, everybody. My name is Meredith Gregory, and I'm the Associate Curator of Education for School and Teacher Programs.
Hi, my name is Veronica Hodge, and I'm the Assistant to the Associate Curator of Education for School and Teacher Programs at the Norton. So today, we are very excited to join this session and that you're joining this session with us. We will introduce you ways to integrate works of art into your classroom virtually for a little while by using inquiry-based teaching methods commonly used at the Norton Museum by our docents and our museum educators. We hope these tools can create meaningful object-based learning opportunities that you can easily integrate into your classroom. We'll focus on strategies that will emphasize the importance of developing critical thinking skills and how to make these connections across disciplines. Next, we'll dig deeper into content by showing you some examples and asking you to be an active participant in today's activities. Finally, we'll share what's new at the Norton and how we're planning to keep you and your students engaged in the fall and during the winter. So today we're going to begin with a session that Meredith and I are calling Art and Inquiry in the Classroom. We're going to do a quick refresher. I'm sure some of you are already using some of these strategies, or you might be super familiar or not so familiar. So that's why we are here, to just give you a quick look through the strategies. So inquiry-based learning begins by posing questions, problems, and scenarios instead of simply presenting facts or depicting a direct path to knowledge. It offers the opportunity for students to explore content through personal or guided investigations through questioning. We promote student-centered learning, what we call it, or what I like to call, ask, don't tell teaching method, and provide students with an opportunity to make their own learning more authentic. How do you begin? Well, obviously, how you create your lessons already, which is drawing from those essential questions and big ideas. You plan around a theme or that big question. You decide what projects, skills, or materials will support meaningful investigation and expression. Adapt these questions to guide students to a specific learning objective. We ask you to let students take ownership of their own learning. How? By infusing the inquiry process into the teaching of the arts and project creations by allowing students to have a voice. We encourage collaboration between students and their peers to allow for students' input rather than too much teacher guidance. Recognize these opportunities. As you recognize these opportunities, you take a step back and allow students to do their own learning. Focus on the process. Our teachers, you're in the classroom, you're creating art, you're allowing and facilitating this for students. So it is good to center in good habits, learning and life skills, which will provide a deepening understanding of content. Focus more on the process rather than the final perfect product. This is one of what we consider a very important one. We use this in the galleries as we encourage docents and museum educators to create opportunities to make those personal connections. Meaning equals learning. Real-world applications of a concept equals understanding. When you integrate the theory with something relatable to kids, the learning truly sticks. Why? Well, it encourages students to think carefully about an object by close observation, making predictions and thoughtful interpretations. What? It could be anything really. Today, because we're in an art museum, we work from artworks and it's object-based, but you can use a painting, photography, a book cover, an image, any other active artifact that is relevant to the theme you are covering. So today, we're going to watch a small clip where you will see some examples of Laura using some of these strategies in the gallery. She's a docent, she's teaching a school tour.
All right, now I want you to imagine, take your eyes and walk into the painting and think about, where am I walking? What do I want to touch or see? How might it feel if I touch it, if it's something you can touch? All right, so think about it. Think about where you want to go. Remember, he invited us into this room. That's why he painted it like this. Where would you go?
I want to touch that thing.
Which thing? What does it look like?
It's like
Up here? On the table? Is that it? Something on the table? Okay. Is it the one like a big shell, or is it the globe? It's a shell? All right. Why do you want to touch that? It's fun. What do you think it would feel like? Soft? Okay. It's smooth where the shell was, I think. Okay. Who's walking somewhere else? Let's see. No one wants to go in this room? I think it would be fun to go in. Okay, where do you want to go?
next to the paintings.
Next to the paintings. And what do you want to do?
Touch them.
Well, yeah, we're not supposed to touch them, but you're going to look at them, right? You're going to look at, maybe pick out one you like. Okay, and? That's right, the dog. A lot of people like to go and meet the dog. Right, let's make believe we're in this painting. What could happen next? Let's say you're in there, and this young lady's walking over to the table, and she wants to look at that. He's deciding which painting he likes, and then we have the dog, making friends with the dog. What could happen after that? Anything else? Right. There might be more people, and maybe the people might start talking to you. Maybe these people, what do you think these people are doing there?
This tour theme was Stories in Art. This is a great example on how to encourage students to look closer by inviting them to the artist space. Okay, so now that we've done a little bit of a refresher, we're gonna get started with our fun part. Today, we're gonna pose some questions and provide some sample answers. The Norton Museum of Art permanent collection includes a combination of historic and contemporary voices, as well as perspectives from diverse cultures and worldviews. Today, we've selected artist Mickalene Thomas for our lesson. Let's look closer. 3 main questions will guide your discussion. Today, we're going to begin with the first one. I am going to begin with the first one. What do you see? For this exercise, I will ask you to pose at one of your students on the other side of the screen or in the classroom. You're gonna grab a pencil and a paper, if you have handy already, and you may pause this video at any time to use extra time to complete your activities or just to reflect upon what you're seeing. So I really want you to begin by using your pen and paper to jot down any words that come to mind where you're looking. But the first exercise really focuses on just seeing. I want to invite you to this space, and I want you to really use your eyes to scan the whole image. You're gonna look at this painting by Mickalene Thomas. You're gonna scan your eyes. You're gonna go to the top, to the center, to the bottom. Always being mindful how your eyes move around the whole image. And just jot down, like I said before, just what do you see? That's the first portion of the exercise of just looking. Next, Meredith is going to take you to the next 2 questions, where she'll guide you through some questions and prompts.
Thank you, Veronica. It's so funny. I've seen this work of art in the galleries hundreds of times, but every time I look at it, I see something new. So I really appreciated you taking us through and just giving us time to look. Once your students have had time to examine the work of art, you can utilize questions to get students thinking what the work of art might be about. I'm going to reference the downloadable poster and lesson plan that you can find at norton.org/educators. So if you want to switch to the next slide, Veronica. This is one of 5 posters that you can find on norton.org/educators. We have 5 posters representing our 5 collections. This one of Mickalene Thomas represents our contemporary collection. And what's cool about these posters is that the images are high resolution. So no matter where your students are learning from, you can share the images and zoom in on details of the work of art. And we'll actually do that a little bit later on when we're talking about materials, so you can see how you can do that on your computer. You don't have to know a lot about the work of art in advance. There's artist information and comparisons from our collection on the poster. This poster is geared towards middle and high school students, but I find there's a ton of appropriate information and questions geared for younger ones too. You can utilize these questions to facilitate discussions, and you can actually utilize all of the questions listed, or you can pick and choose depending on your goals of the conversation. For example, I'm going to pretend to be an art teacher, if only I could be one of you, but I'm going to pretend to be you today. And I'm thinking about creating questions around a lesson that will be about portraiture and collage based on the Mickalene Thomas. So I really want students to learn about her artist process and the inspiration behind her work. And so I've kind of focused some questions around that, knowing that my end result will be creating this great collage portraiture lesson. So I want really you to participate in this next portion, just like we did with Veronica's section. So get your pen and pencil ready, and I'm going to ask questions around Mickalene Thomas's work. If you need more time throughout this discussion, feel free to pause the video. First, I'm going to ask, how many different patterns do you see? Can you describe some of the patterns that you see? As kind of second part of this question while we're still looking is, what types of materials do you think the artist used to create this work of art? So as Veronica zooms into our poster that you can find online at norton.org/educators, see if you can notice what type of materials and patterns you see. Wow, it was so wonderful to have time to just really zoom in to that work of art. And I can't believe that our poster, you can zoom in that closely to see the different materials. So it's great to know that even if you have to utilize the images online, if you can't come to our museum with your students, you still can really capture that detail. A little bit about the materials that she used. The students, the first thing they notice is always the sparkle. Mickalene Thomas used rhinestones in her work. She says that when she was in art school, she couldn't really afford oils or acrylic. So she tried to think of what materials she could use and begin to acquire these materials, like she got these rhinestones from craft stores, and find her own meaning with those materials in her work. And now, even if she can't afford oil, she's still using these rhinestones as a cornerstone of her work of art. She says, don't limit yourself to what you can't do. Think of what you can do and use those materials that are in your own environment to make something. We also talked about the patterns, and you might have noticed that she uses images of great art from the past appropriated in her work. So I'm noticing that the pattern on the upper right corner almost looks like an Andy Warhol work. Students also noticed her feet. They think it looks very strange and disjointed. And she was referencing a work by a famous artist, Ong, from the 19th century called the Grand Odalisque. When I'm working with students, I also try to incorporate questions that connect to their lives. Like Veronica mentioned earlier, it's really important to have that real world application because it keeps students engaged in the conversation. It's kind of like, why should I care about this work? So making those connections makes them care. So get your pencil and paper ready. If you could use any material from around your house in this work, what would you use? So again, students start to think about what's in their own environment. My final questions help students reflect on the artist's intent with this work of art and synthesize what they're seeing. Who do you think this woman is? Why do you say that? Notice I often ask questions like, what makes you say that? Why or why not? This allows students to return to the work of art and use visual evidence to support their answers. What I've heard students say in the past about who the subject is it's a famous person, maybe a singer, and they guess a lot of famous people to try to figure out who it is. So I might say, why do you think it's somebody famous? To dig a little deeper into why Mickalene Thomas might have used a famous person. I rarely get elementary students who say that they know this work of art is about Naomi Campbell. What Mickalene Thomas says is that it's a gaze of a Black woman, herself, Mickalene Thomas, loving other Black women. Take a moment to reflect on the questions you answered. Do you view the work differently now? Why or why not? There's that question again, why or why not? Veronica is going to discuss a really fun activity you can do around this work of art with your students.
Yes, so today, because obviously you are in the art classroom and you could do so many extensions upon this work of art and extend my activity, which is a sketch activity just to begin and as a warm-up, but you can do so much thinking of the things that Meredith mentioned on portraiture and collage. But right now, going back to your paper and pencil, you don't need a full page if you already used it. You can use half a page to turn it around. You can also pause again if you need more time. But what I want you to do, being again on that position of the student, I want you to look again at the work of art and I want you to focus on a couple things. Think about cropping and just zooming in. So think about a shape, perhaps a couple shapes that interest or call your attention right from the beginning, or now as you're looking back again at the painting. I want you to draw that shape or shapes into your piece of paper. It could be a square, a rectangle, a crooked triangle. And then as a second step, I want you to quickly sketch what you see inside. As you know, this Mickalene Thomas painting is filled with patterns, lines, texture. So I want you to perhaps think and recreate some of those textures, lines, and patterns within that shape or shapes. You can always extend this by asking students what attracted them to that specific corner. I used a pen and pencil to quickly sketch one of the corners on the top left of the painting. These made me think of the sunny Florida, the colors, and also the beautiful prints that Warhol makes of flowers. So you could use that as an extended activity and add color, or you can just keep it as a sketch, a quick sketch, basing it on pattern and shape focus. So now we've looked at art. We answered some questions that hopefully were helpful. Hopefully you learned a little more about Mickalene Thomas artwork, or it was a refresher for you if you were at the museum and ever saw this painting. And you also had some time to sketch and do some quick activities. Now it's time to hand it out to Meredith, who's gonna share some awesome news on what's next and what's new at the Norton for the fall.
Thank you, Veronica. I love your sketch. The colors you used just made me so happy, and I think it's a great activity. So I did want to go over a little bit what's happening at the Norton, because my friends all the time ask me, are you still working? Like, what possibly could you be doing with your job right now since you're not in the Norton Museum? We actually have been working really hard on digital content. And one of the things that we've been working on are virtual tours for the school year. So if you're not able to physically visit our museum with the students, you can visit the galleries virtually and have an interactive inquiry-based tour with a museum educator in the galleries right from your classroom, or if the students are at home. And we'll be utilizing Google Meet for that. To find out more about those virtual tours, you can visit norton.org/schools, and we will have information about how to sign up for those tours and the content of those tours so you can learn more. The theme will be stories in art, and it connects really well to anything that your students are learning. For example, say you're learning about the environment and art, we can connect works of art from our collection where artists were thinking about the environment and the world around them to tell a story about that in their art. We also will be offering virtual professional development for teachers so that we can have a live forum to discuss our art collection and how it connects to your curriculum. So you can visit norton.org/educators to learn more about those opportunities as well. I'm going to let Veronica talk about upcoming exhibitions. We do hope that the museum will be open by this time so that we can really share this wonderful exhibition by this great artist.
Thank you, Meredith. Yes, we have very exciting exhibitions, and one of the ones that we decided to highlight today is by a Colombian artist called Maria Berrio. She is Brooklyn-based artist at the moment, and her large-scale mixed media works, which are usually done in Japanese paper, explore the many ways she grew up in South America and Latin America, and her works also dig into the cross-cultural connections and how to live in a world where we are all connected with our cultures and globally. So we are very excited to showcase this, and also Maria Berrio is part of our RAW series, which is recognition of women in art, and she'll be coming in from January to May. Very excited. So on to Meredith.
Back to me. So when the museum does open, we have a great new experience to offer you and your family, or you and your friends, or even if it's just you visiting alone, which will be an iPad augmented reality experience. So you can check out an iPad at the Norton, and you can engage with 6 contemporary works of art through augmented reality. For example, if you are in the front of our museum, you might have seen the typewriter eraser by Oldenburg and Van Bruggen. You can put your iPad in front of the eraser. The eraser will actually spin around, and you can control the way the eraser goes. You'll try to eat letters. Once your eraser gets big enough, a quote by Oldenburg will pop up. So some really fun, silly interactions that still tell you a lot about the work of art. So we're super excited to launch that once the museum opens to the public. If you'd like to participate in the Norton right now, we have a really great platform on norton.org called Norton from Home. Through this, you can view our collections, you can watch tours and talks by artists and curators, you can do art activities, and even find teacher professional development videos, as well as the posters on that site. So we hope that you'll take a chance to visit that. Lastly, please stay in touch. We miss you so much, and we really wish we could have seen you this year for preschool. Feel free to email us at schools@norton.org if you just want to say hi, or if you have any questions about the upcoming school year and what we're offering. You can find the posters that we were talking about today, as well as some videos on norton.org/educators, and that's where you can also find information about our virtual professional development opportunities. At norton.org/schools is where you can find information about tours, including the virtual tours, and other things that we offer K through 12 students. We hope you all have a great school year. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Meredith, and thank you so much for being part of this session. Hopefully it was as fun as it was for us. And we are very happy and excited to be of aid and help for the next school year as we navigate this new normal together. And yes, get in touch. You have our contact information. We're looking forward to connect with you virtually and then hopefully welcome you back at the museum soon. Thank you for today.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.